Hello, welcome to the NACE 8 workshop on equity and inclusion with Cal Poly Career Services. So to get into a little bit behind what NACE 8 means, NACE stands for the National Association of Colleges and Employers, and it's a company that conducts a lot of research into what helps students get internships and be successful in their full-time roles. The NACE 8 is what we call the 8 career readiness competencies that recruiters and employers are consistently looking for in students. So when they come to Cal Poly campus, it's the 8 traits that help students stand out. And today we're going to be talking about equity and inclusion amongst these 8 competencies. So for our opening reflection, when we start to think about equity and inclusion, you can think of a specific time that you truly felt included, whether that was in a class, on a team, at a job, or in a specific community. What was actually happening in that moment that made it feel that way? What did other people do or not do? And what impact did this have on your work or your tasks? So you can think about some place where you feel included. Maybe it was a specific person that was making you feel included. What kind of actions were they doing, and how was this affecting your perspective or your mindset or your job? The NACE definition of equity and inclusion is to demonstrate the awareness, attitude, knowledge, and skills required to equitably encourage and include people from different cultures and backgrounds, and to engage in anti-oppressive practices that actively challenge the systems, structures, and policies of racism and equity. So it's being able to work with people from different backgrounds and to include people from different backgrounds and also to engage in those anti-oppressive practices that challenge the systemic inequalities that we face. Some sample behaviors of equity and inclusion is having an open mind to diverse ideas and new ways of thinking. So, thinking beyond what you're used to in the traditional ways. Also, soliciting and using feedback from multiple cultural perspectives so that you're able to make those inclusive and equity minded decisions. Additionally, demonstrating flexibility by adapting to diverse environments. So that can look like working in different parts of a business or different roles, or even at a larger scale, working in different places, different languages, different countries. It also looks like advocating for inclusion, equitable practices, justice, and empowerment for historically marginalized communities. And in the workplace application is that the workforce is a very global place. It's globalizing more by the minute as e-commerce and things like that become bigger and businesses start to become more at a global scale. So your next teammate, manager, or client may not think, communicate, or lead like you. So it's very important to understand your own values first so that you understand why someone else's feel different and where values can intersect. Recruiters are looking for people that can work with many different types of people, and the ability to work across cultures, backgrounds, and worldviews is becoming baseline in the recruiting process. So, showing that you stand out in this regard will really put you ahead. And students who have done this work know how to find common ground amongst different people. And that is a skill that makes a diverse team become high performing. And for some terminology around equity and inclusion, diversity itself refers to the presence of difference. So this refers to who is actually in the room, on the team, or in the organization. Inclusion refers to whether that difference is welcomed, valued, and leveraged so that people feel like they truly belong. And equity is more at a systemic level. So equity means removing the structural barriers that prevent people from having fair access and opportunity. Equity is about making sure everyone has what they need individually to succeed. And belonging is also very important in the discussion of equity and inclusion. Belonging, having a high sense of belonging at work is linked to an increase in job performance, a reduction in turnover, which means people leaving the company, and a decrease in sick days. So belonging makes you work better. It makes you feel happier at work and more efficient. Belonging is the experience of being seen, valued, and able to contribute fully. So when you feel comfortable at work, you can contribute better and you're performing higher. The psychologist Abraham Maslow, with Maslow's hierarchy, identified belonging as a fundamental human need. So not a want, but an actual need that humans to have to succeed. Organizational research have also built on this to show that it is a performance driver. So, from the organizational behavior side, it does make you more efficient at work. You can also build a diverse team and still have members who feel like outsiders. So it's not only about diversity who's in the room, but also how you build inclusion. And belonging requires ongoing active effort from everyone on the team. So this means going above and beyond to helping each other feel included and seen. And this is a diagram of Maslow's pyramid from Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So here we see physiological at the bottom, which is things like food, water, shelter. And then safety is the next level. And then love and belonging is the one right above that. So he sees it as a fundamental human need that organizational behavior researchers have built on. And now we're going to move into the discussion of values. So, values are the things that we believe matter and they shape our decisions and our behavior. So, for example, values can affect how we communicate or how we handle conflict. And when we don't know our own values, we can't examine how they help or affect the people around us. So, building self-awareness around your values is a foundational professional skill, and it is directly tied to how you practice equity and inclusion. So, this is a great first step for the equity and inclusion conversation is where you stand and what is important to you in a workplace. And this looks different for everyone else. Some people might prioritize work-life balance, and some people might prioritize faster acceleration up a company into higher management levels. So it is all about you personally and what you're looking for. And this will help you understand the company, yourself better, and also the people around you and how different values look different and behave differently. So teams that understand each other's values don't avoid conflict. There is always going to be some friction in between work and things like that, but they have better conflict. So it's being able to understand each other, and then knowing what drives your colleagues makes you a stronger collaborator, manager, and teammate. So the next time that something feels off at work, you can ask yourself, which of my values is at hand? And this also applies to school. So, for example, like I mentioned, if work-life balance is an important value for you, and you feel like there's something off that you feel with work or school, it can be because that value is at stake. And differences in values is not a problem, but it's actually an asset and it's a resource that you can use to have a more efficient team. As for developing equity and inclusion skills, you should consider taking an international abroad experience. This can include traveling, service projects, or study abroad. There's many programs within Cal Poly. You can also attend cultural events on Cal Poly or within your city back home. Within Cal Poly, you can actually now filter it with the culture event theme, so you can see what's going on campus and decide to visit some of those organizations and events going on. You can also learn more about different populations by visiting other states or countries or doing a student exchange at a different college or university. Cal Poly also offers that. If you want an experience at a different location, you can also stay domestically within the US and just have a quarter or semester at a different university. You can also volunteer in different communities just to get that exposure or take classes within the ethnic studies department and in general, at a larger scale, develop your cultural awareness. So get to know people who are different from you, don't come from the same exact location or background, and just get to know people that way. And as for showing equity and inclusion, it's very important to just have value and appreciation for diverse perspectives. So, welcoming different ideas and perspectives, values, like we talked about, and then also having effective and appropriate communication in intercultural situations and creating inclusive work environments, which, similar to belonging, takes active effort And then demonstrating examples in your cover letters or your personal statements is a way to stand out in the recruiting world of examples where you've worked with people from different places, different backgrounds, and how you face different values and work together. You can also identify potential disparities within your organization with touches on the equity side of a more systemic aspect. So if you notice that there's an aspect of your organization that has a disparity regarding equity and inclusion, you can identify those, and then you can also, once you're identified them, work to find solutions for them. And also be able to listen and observe without judgment. And this goes with the communication workshop that we also have with NASATE, but just being an active listener, listening to other perspectives, and observing without judgment is going to really help you in the workplace when everyone has different values and perspectives. Thank you.